Hi, my name's John Hudson and I'm organising the Australian Property Centre Rally for 2011. We're about to have a safety briefing for all riders that are going on the ride. First of all, I've got to state that motorcycling is dangerous, and during this event you have the chance to be killed or injured. You need to take this seriously because you're riding on public roads. There will be vehicles coming the other way. There's a lot of kangaroos, a lot of livestock out there, and a rider must ride within their ability to manage everything else that's going on out there right now. Now, on the wildlife side of things, your biggest threat's kangaroos, but on the course there's camels, donkeys, emus, pigs, eagles, and basically they're coming at you from all directions. It's a real risk. During the pre-ride we hit and killed 3 kangaroos, which is pretty unfortunate. Now, two-way traffic, the only way you can manage two-way traffic is to lower your speed and to stay on the left-hand side of the track at all times. If you drift over to the right-hand side, that is no man's land, and you could be involved in a head-on accident in any part of the course. Speeding, basically a rider which speeds on an adventure bike is at real risk of having a crash. The reason being is an adventure bike doesn't handle as well because of the camping gear that you're carrying, and usually the fuel load and the extra water that you're carrying as well. So you've basically got to ride within the speed limits, and more importantly within your limits. There could be a change in surface at any time, and that is probably one of the scariest things on an adventure bike, is when you hit slippery clay and the extra weight forces the bike to go sideways. The only way you can make this safer is by entering that slippery section at less speed. Now, fatigue. On the ride, a rider will get very tired because the course is 6,900 kilometres and basically you're doing it for 14 days. What everyone has to do is manage themselves so they get a good night's sleep. Whether that is when you're out camping and you put on extra clothes and extra bedding to make sure you're warm so you can get a decent sleep, or camping out of the wind, or it can be not staying for the extra couple of drinks in the pub at night. You've got to know that every time you miss out on a bit of sleep, you're more chance of crashing with fatigue 4 or 5 days later. Now, during the event, riders may see the safety tape. What this means is there's this dangerous obstacle 50 metres down the track. All the riders will be issued some of this tape at the start of the event, and if they see anything dangerous, they're to go back 50 metres on the course and put a bit of this tape so another rider can see it. This is one of the ways we can make the course as safe as possible. It doesn't take a lot of time to just go back and do that. And because we've got 7 starting points around the course, by day 3 the entire course should be marked with the dangerous obstacles. Now, we're using GPSs to navigate the course. On those GPSs there is safety information that has been put into the route. For example, it's marking dangerous intersections, it's marking slippery locations, it's even marking areas where speeding is not recommended at all. Now, when you're using a GPS, one of the things that you've got to be really aware of is not to get fixation on the GPS. You've got to look at it a brief second, and if you've got to change settings on the GPS, the only safe way to do this is to pull over and do that. There have now been several bad accidents with adventure riders that have been fixated on the GPS, looking at the screen, gone over a crest and seen something they didn't like, such as a car. Now, spot trackers. The reason all the riders are carrying spot trackers is that's the way the APC team can keep an eye on you. And obviously, if you're involved in an accident, you hit the emergency button, which will bring emergency crews to that location. If you come across a rider that's been involved in a crash, if you can find their spot tracker quickly, you press theirs, because if the spot trackers have been set up with an emergency message, which is an individual message which may tell their next of kin as well. So you try and find their spot tracker and set that off rather than your own, but if you can't find theirs, you set yours off. Now, when finding an injured rider, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, you've got to be very careful of spinal injuries. Now, with the removal of a helmet, you've got to be very careful with this, and if there is any reason why the person is not moving or complain of spinal injuries, you don't remove the helmet. But on occasions you do have to cut the chin strap, because if a rider's landed awkwardly, that chin strap could be suffocating them. So just keep that in mind, that preferably you don't remove the helmet from an injured rider, but if you have to, you actually cut the strap. Now, the riders will also have the opportunity to call AAA on their mobile phones in approximately 70% of the course, because their mobile phones would work. But from a planning perspective, we would expect everyone just to hit their spot trackers in the case of an emergency. Now, during the ride, there are vehicles that are going around the course that their job is to actually sweep the course, and if they come across a bike that's broken down, they will get that bike to the next town. They won't get it home, they'll just get it to the next town, where that rider will then have to organise to get it back to where they live. When riding in the rally, what I recommend to people is that they don't try and plan too far ahead. Realistically, there's pubs and places you can stay every couple of 100 kilometres, so therefore you can ride till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then decide what place you will stay, and then on your route sheet roll you'll see phone numbers of different pubs and caravan parks, and you can just call them and make a booking and hopefully get a bed. If not, you can call another place, or you'll be camping out for the night. Now, it's not worth trying to call pubs ahead by a number of days, because there's so many things that can change out on the track. That's all for the APC safety briefing. Good luck, and I hope you have a good time.